Welcome to the World We Want, a television presentation of the New York Herald Tribune Forum for high schools. It features incorrigible teenagers from practically everywhere in this program, particularly, especially unrehearsed. This is our last day in the United States as a group. Within a very few hours, we'll all be en route to Berlin for a week there as guests of the Ministry of All German Affairs for visits in Berlin schools and discussions with Berlin young people. Each of these young people, as I believe you know, is the winner of a nationwide competition held under the auspices of the Ministries of Education in their own countries. They were brought to the United States the 1st of January by Pan American World Airways and Trans World Airlines, and since that time have visited in 4 different host communities and host families. During the final week, the entire group has been given hospitality in John Jay High School, Katona Cross River, New York. Now, I'll try to see if I can make some sense out of this obviously enthusiastic group tonight. If I can come over here and sit down where I can look at them. The first thing I'd like to ask you see, this final forum program is the time when I find out all the things I've been wanting to know and nobody's dared to tell me. First of all, you know there's a forum rule, no single dates. How many people have been on dates in these 3 months? All right, the exception that proves the rule. Now, what's the most fun, dates apart, what's the most fun you've had? Now, one at a time, raise your hands. What's the most fun you've had in these 3 months? Ice cream. Wait a minute, what do you say, Ruth? Ice skating. Ice skating. Oh. Did you stand up or fall down?
Stand up.
Snowball fight. How many of you learned to ice skate? Oh. Good. How many of you saw snow for the first time? Oh, no. Plenty the last week. Anybody else? Yes, Yoma.
Skiing. I've never had skiing before, and that was the funniest experience that I ever had. Snowball
Funny
fight.
what?
Experience.
Funny because you could stand up and go faster?
No, because I rolled down the hill. Snowball fights and cheerleaders.
We won't go into that. Snowball fights are fairly costly. The one of you who got his glasses broken in a snowball fight the other day, whereas over there from the guy. Now look, one at a time, we can't hear you. We've had this trouble for 3 months, progressively. The first week you were here, you were all extremely polite and well-bred young people.
We are Americanized.
Yes, I know.
We are ice cream.
You're impossible. Now, let me ask you 1 or 2 very serious questions. What kind of gifts have you been buying these last couple of days in America to take home with you? Moans from Denmark.
Oh, you should see a wonderful thing I found in Chinatown today. It's just marvelous. Look at this. He is the god of happiness. You know, $15 for that thing there. It's just marvelous.
I wish we could see him more closely. Can we?
In Japan.
I think he's the... Now, wait a minute. Let's get this straight. He's made in Japan. He's the god of happiness. And you bought him in Chinatown.
Yeah.
Well, now, why are you taking the god of happiness made in Japan, bought in Chinatown, home from New York?
I believe that's because he brings happiness, and we need it.
You mean after you leave here, you will need some of the happiness you've had while you were here?
Wow.
Well, now, what other things have some of you bought? Wait a minute. Francoise, what have you bought?
Oh, I went to Brentano's and there were so many beautiful books. Oh, they're so lucky, you know.
Well, let's see, what'd you buy?
I wonder why they don't read them.
Hold it up, turn it around. What'd you buy?
New Poets of England and America.
Yeah, what else?
Philosophies of India. Oh, the art of thinking. It's very important.
But Francoise, that was written by a Frenchman.
Oh, yes.
Ernest Dimnay, isn't it?
Good all the same, Mrs. Waller. It makes me practice my English.
Oh, I see.
It's cheaper in America.
Death of a Salesman by Arthur Miller.
Death of a Salesman, yes.
And Wisdom of China and India.
Well, quite a collection to buy in New York. Glad you're going home with books from America. What have you bought, Ike, from Greece? Books? What have you bought in the way of books?
Well, I bought some of the translations of Indian manuscripts, and I brought the History of Philosophy by Bertrand Russell, which was... And I bought a history of Western civilization and principles to history of art by Verslin. And
you're going to be reading on the airplane. Some art books, too.
Oh, they're very cheap.
Now let's go over to Malaya. Swan, what have you bought?
Oh, I spent $60 and all on books.
Did you really?
Mrs. Waller, it was peanuts. It was peanuts.
Has more American slang. Anybody bought anything besides books? Yes, Krishnan. Krishnan from India.
Just a moment. I was thinking of something typically American for my mother, and I thought of instant mashed potatoes.
Ahmed from Egypt, what did you buy?
I bought kitchen utensils for my mother, these little devices that make 100 things at the same time.
Oh, the gadgets?
Yes, the small
What
gadgets.
What particular ones did you buy?
Well, egg and white separator, something that cuts chicken and opens bottles and opens cans and so on.
100 things at once. What else has anybody bought to take home with them? Wait a minute, Yilma from Ethiopia.
I bought records that anybody didn't. Many albums, about 30 records I have.
Rock and roll?
Rock and roll.
John, what did you buy?
Oh, Tom Lehrer records, Pete Seeger, the folk singer, modern jazz, a lot.
What else? Yes, Foluke from Nigeria.
I bought records and camera.
A camera?
Yes, a camera and a shave for my father.
A shaver?
Again.
A razor?
An electric shave. And a shave for her boyfriend.
Sarah, what did you buy?
I bought the pants with the barcodes and the shirt
What?
with
Wait a minute, I can't hear. A what?
the pants with the barcodes at the back and
The Ivy League pants.
Oh, the Ivy League pants. Well, that'll be interesting in Bangkok. Yes, Na, what did you buy? Wait a minute now. Na from Vietnam.
Me and Rita, we went to buy many American food crinolines.
Crinolines?
Yeah. I have
they
5
going-
and Rita has 5 too.
But I can understand it in Finland, but how are they going to look in your long, very straight and narrow Vietnamese clothes? Well, now, another question. What would you like to take home from America with you if you could? Mo?
A cheerleader, but it
Salon, what would you like to take home?
a plate of pizza.
A plate of pizza.
Yeah, if I could.
Surprise, what would you like? What?
An ice cream
An ice cream factory. Lebanon.
A blonde with a thunderbird.
Swan from Malaya. What? Snow. Snow. It wouldn't last very long in Singapore. Minu from Iran. What would you like to take home with you?
A red Cadillac.
A red Cadillac. A little difficult. Mike from Jordan.
Helicopter.
A helicopter. Oh, no. You're also materialistic. Is there anything immaterial that you would like to take
A girl.
home?
A
What?
girl.
What?
A girl if you could.
A girl? Not immaterial.
No, that's not material. No, Mrs.
Ben from Ghana, what would you like to take home?
Well, perhaps I would like to take the degree of friendliness between the families. I mean, between the brother, the son and the daughter and the father, and how they play together. That's what I would like to.
Oh, I have an
Trivo from Yugoslavia.
I would like to take the Library of New York City and the Metropolitan Museum of Modern Art.
I would like...
Now, wait a minute. One at a time. I have to know who's talking. We can't hear you. Sang me from Korea. What would you like to take home?
Mrs. Waller.
Who else has got something they want
The
to take
Empire
home?
State.
The Empire,
Mrs.
wait a minute.
The Empire State, Mrs. Waller of the United Nations.
That's very peculiar in a flat desert. It has to have Manhattan. Nyla from Pakistan. A department store. What have you been buying in the department stores, Nyla?
Oh, slacks. Slacks.
Nyla, is it true that I saw you in an American dress yesterday?
Shame on you.
And you who wouldn't wear American dresses at all, what made you finally break? I know you bought Bermuda shorts and slacks, but what finally persuaded you to buy an American dress?
Oh, well, just for fun and fancy.
Now, oh, wait a minute. Yes, Yilma from
I'd
Ethiopia.
like to take this World TV, you know, this studio, so that I can tell everything at home.
When you raise an interesting new question, what are you going to be doing as soon as you get home? What use are you going to make?
Studying.
Now, don't all talk at once. Nobody can hear you. Yilma, what are you going
I
to
have to make reports for the newspaper,
do? Yeah.
and I have to make up all the subjects that I missed, and I have to take an exam.
Then I'll catch up with my class. And
Be sure to send us the reports that appear in the newspapers in no matter what language, because our scrapbook has languages now from 72 different countries.
Oh,
Be sure to send them. Come over here to Greece. Yes, Ike?
I'll try to evaluate whatever new ideas I've got here.
Now, have you all gotten some new ideas? Well, let me ask you another question before that. What preconceived idea about America that you had when you arrived has proved most incorrect or inaccurate? Yes, Susie?
Everybody dances rock and roll on the street.
Who else? Ike?
That people are very, very free and independent in the States.
And you don't think so now?
No.
Not as free and independent as you thought. Let's go over here and then we'll go across. Patsy from the Philippines?
Well, I always thought that most Americans can dance better rock and roll than we can in the Philippines. I haven't seen anybody who can dance better than my cousin.
All here, they just go to school for fun. But I changed my opinion now.
You find out that they do study.
they do.
What other opinions, Swan?
I thought most of them were juvenile delinquents.
Well, most of them are not juvenile delinquents, as you can see. Who else has had some ideas? Change, no?
I thought that when I arrived here, I'd see some cowboy, but the first cowboy I saw was Ahmed from Egypt.
Someday, maybe we'll be able to take you out west and show you some real cowboys. Let's go to Lebanon and then to Turkey. How about you, Ibrahim?
I thought that Americans manufacture cars just to make accidents. But no.
By the way, on the subject of cars, you know you aren't supposed to have learned to drive cars here because of the insurance. How many of you have learned to drive cars since you've been here? All right, I'm finding out some of you. What?
Ask how many got cars under their own.
No, that I will not. Omar, what were you going to say?
Well, I thought that across the American soldiers, Morocco, that the Americans are always drunk.
That you have found is also not true. Glad that changed. How about you, Onder from
I
Turkey?
got the same impression about Americans by seeing those GIs in my country before I came here. And well, I'm glad to see that all the Americans are not like the GIs I seen before I came here.
Yes, Bashir from the Sudan?
At first I saw that all the Americans do, the whole life in America is just mechanical, and everything is done by machines. But now...
No, it's not right.
No, but now it seems that the Americans...
Wait a minute, wait a minute. Quiet. Let Bashir
Oh,
make
they
his
rush
point.
very much. Everything is done quickly by the people. And the husband, for example, he work in the office very hard, and then he come and serve the supper or things like that in the house. So not everything is done by machine.
Hard-working people and people who also work with their hands. Hmm? What was it that you said the other day to me that here even a street cleaner can be a high school graduate? And that in the Sudan a high school graduate is already an elevated class that must be respected and that must be treated with special deference. That's an interesting point, I thought. Yes, Garrett from Germany.
Well, I'm glad that I found out that Elvis Presley is not typical for American youngsters.
Yes, Feluke?
I thought all the Americans are very rich. But when I came here, I saw that they work for their dollars.
Well, we're very glad you found out that we aren't all rich and that all of us work very hard for our dollars. Yes, Bjorn from Iceland.
I thought that in America they were most advanced in technology, but I found out that when you had a little snow, everything, the trains went fast. This never happens in Iceland.
We should explain, this is kind of a sore point with the forum because we were stuck in Union Station in Washington for 2 solid days. But I must say, you all cheered up everybody in the whole station by your good humor. I appreciate that. We haven't had a winter quite this bad in the New York area, though, for a long time. Yes, Saraj?
I think the people here are very punctual, but they are not at all.
Wait a minute. All the complaints I get about you from your host families is that you kids are never punctual. Now, what's this you're saying? Why do you say Americans are not punctual?
Such as the show, they said the show start at 8:30, it start at 9 or something like that.
Well, we just do that to make everybody feel at home. Yes, Yilma?
I was positive to find the Indians, but actually I didn't see one even.
You really thought you were going to
I was
find
really
Indians?
positive to see Indians, with their horses and with feathers on their head riding around the city.
Wait just a minute. I want to stay over here and then we'll come back. Yes, Ahmed from Egypt.
I thought my host mothers and my host families would make me dishwash all the time and scrub the floors and babysit, but unfortunately I didn't do so much of that.
By the way, have any of you been babysitting since you've been here?
very nice.
What do you think, baby?
I thought the children were not very well brought up and they were very noisy, and it's not true at all. They behave very well. They're very quiet. You put them in front of TV, and you can do whatever.
Come back over here to Krishnan from India, yes?
I found out that Americans are more sentimental than I thought. They love to relax after a nice dinner, talk of the good old days when Grandma baked delicious cakes and so on.
Now, another question I want to find out about is, are there any, you've learned a lot about the United States. Obviously, you've changed lots of your preconceived notions. Do you have any questions in your mind about America that are still unanswered after these 3 months? Yes, Sangmi?
I don't understand why the teachers and professors here are not respected at all.
You still don't?
Well, I disagree there.
Oh, Krishnan disagrees. Typical for him. Go ahead.
I think the students here have a more intelligent respect for the teachers than we in India have, and I should say students in Korea are likely to have.
Why do you...
Maybe you don't.
Well, I think our respect is mostly stuffy and formal. Here the students understand the teacher, and so do the teachers.
Krishnan, why is it then the teachers are paid so badly if everybody respects them? And you get more money being a truck
I agree.
driver.
I defend Krishnan's opinion.
Well, now, wait a minute. Let John make... What was your last point? We didn't hear it, John.
I mean, you appear to get more money being a truck driver or a man who works in Fords or somewhere than you would as a...
Funeral director.
Yeah, funeral director. Than you would as a teacher. I mean, society at large has no great respect
Well, I
for the
said the
teacher.
students, John, not the society.
Well, I mean, surely the students would reflect the society.
Well, I'm not sure it's always the case.
Well, they should be here. This is
It
mass
should be here,
education.
but it's not so.
One point on this before India and England get into an old argument again. In how many of your countries, and I'm quite serious about this, in how many of your countries does the school teacher have a position of higher respect than in America? Thank you. Thank you.
We show more respect, Mrs. Waller.
Yes,
There's a difference
yes,
between
yes.
showing and having more respect.
Yes.
Well, I said have. What I'm trying to get at, I know in your classrooms they're much more formal, and you bow and you say good morning and you stand up when you recite and so on, lots of you. No, what I'm saying is, how are they regarded by the society? Does your society regard the school teacher?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to make that point because many of us in America are very concerned by this. Yes?
They are considered as messengers in our country.
As what?
Messengers of God.
As messengers of
Yeah.
God?
Yeah.
Oh. And you would say in Korea that the teacher is the most highly regarded in the society, wouldn't you?
Yes.
The intellectual? What is it, the intellectual first, and then the farmer, and then the businessman?
Yes.
We kind of turn that upside down, don't we? What?
In the end, the soldiers.
In the end, the soldiers in Korea. Yes.
Well, I consider that they are parents. No, I wouldn't say that.
Now, let's come back to Minu from Iran. You say you treat your teachers as if they're your parents.
Yes, and we have to respect them more than our real parents.
Really?
Yes.
Now, come across to the other side, to Saroj from Thailand. I've been meaning to ask you something you wrote to me weeks ago, and I haven't had a chance yet. You said that when you are bad in school or don't know your lessons or make 3 mistakes in punctuation in a page of dictation, that your teacher beats you.
Yes, yes, that's true.
Is that true?
Yes. If it's not so serious, he'll hit the hands. If it's serious, he'll hit the bottom.
Just as a matter of interest, how many of you in your school still have corporal punishment?
Oh, no.
No?
We
Yes.
have another kind of punishment. We have to come back Sunday morning at school.
Ah. Wait a minute, Naila from Pakistan.
I don't think anyone has this punishment. Actually, it's going away. But if you do something wrong, you have to get up and catch your ears and go up and down like that.
Well, now show us. Put your Pakistan sign out and show us. Suppose you've been bad. What do you have to do?
Well, you have to go like this.
Maybe this... Wait, quiet. Maybe this program is very subversive. Maybe you're giving some teachers some ideas that your American host students won't like. But Naila, excuse me, what does that come from? Why do you do that?
It's supposed to be saying toba, which means I won't do it again. Toba, toba.
How How many times do you have to do it?
Sometimes you have to do it for 15 minutes in the sun.
And the sun in Pakistan, that gets difficult, doesn't it? What other kinds of punishment? Yes, Ruth?
I think that I know English because my English teacher used always to give me punishment to copy if I disturbed in the lesson.
Yes, who else? What other? Yes, Susie?
Oh, my punishment marks here, just a big zero.
Oh! How about Iran?
We have to stand up for an hour and put up our hands like this. In grade school, of course, not high school. They can't do it high school students because, but in grade school they have to put hands like this and put the leg up for an hour. And face the wall.
And face the wall.
Yes.
How about Salam?
The boys, the higher class, have to do a few push-ups when they
Push-ups?
do the homework. Yeah.
How many push-ups do you have to do for one mistake?
Oh, I have done about 50 now.
50? How about Philippines?
Well, in the Philippines, teachers usually make you put in a pencil in your mouth or throw erasers at you. Not now very much, but there's a very interesting punishment that I discovered in my first school. When you get
You're talking about America now.
Yes, American school in Westfield, New Jersey. When you get late or something, the teacher makes you subtract 1/5 from 500 until you get down to 0.
Trevo, what about the Yugoslav schools? What kind of punishment is there for people that don't know their lessons or who misbehave?
If I have no respect for my teachers, my school fellow will lose the respect for me as a person.
Yes? There's so many other questions I want to ask you. Yes, Bjorn?
We had to sit on a whalebone for a little while.
Sit on a whalebone?
On a whalebone. It's a shame to sit on a whalebone.
Wait a minute. Francoise and then Sagmi.
We're more intellectual. We have the double of work when we don't behave.
The double of work when you don't behave. That's why the French students are so smart. I can see it. Sagmi?
We don't have that kind of punishment in girls' school. But in the boys' school they have. Girls are always lucky.
Well, what kind of punishment do you have?
Well, the teachers beat the students with rod.
They do?
Yes.
Oh, dear.
They do.
Wait, yes, Yukiko, we haven't heard from you, from Japan.
We don't have such punishment, and if teachers do such things, parents come to school and...
Jarmini from Indonesia, yes?
We have a good punishment. We are not permitted to go to school for 15 days.
Look, I'm sorry, our time is almost up, and there's yes, I'm sorry, it is.
One more, Miss Wallace.
Yes, one more, all right, Yilma, what?
In my school, you know what, the director will call us on Saturdays, you know, we don't have school on Saturdays. So on Saturdays, we'll be given a big basket to pick up scraps of peppers and rocks, you know, all around the soccer field. You know,
that's a very constructive and useful punishment, I would say.
Yeah.
Now, we just got a couple more minutes. This is our last night here in the United States together. If you can be serious, and you probably can't, for just a second or two, I would like to know what you're thinking about now as you get ready to go off. What's been the point of it all for you as an individual? Bashir?
Oh, I think that within every heart there is a desire, and this desire is seldom fulfilled. And within these infrequent occasions, mine is fulfilled. Now the forum to me is a reformation of ideas and beliefs in my mind and heart. And this forum took place within myself and the other delegates and the American teenagers too. After the forum now, we discover new personalities in ourselves, more compromising, more self-denying, and less narrow-minded.
And a little more noisy, if I can stop you there. Let's go over to Krishnan from India. What's on your mind, Krishnan?
I'm over. I think this is an attempt at a new kind of international relationship. It's more human, more personal, and more individual. And I think this is what makes the forum so meaningful to each and every one of us. I think the first change that I sense is I can no longer regard people in terms of their nationalities, but I instinctively regard them in terms of their personalities. So in this sense, I should say that our vague conceptions of international relations, universal brotherhood, and so on, have crystallized into realities and have struck us with all the force of a newly awakened consciousness.
Good. Let me stop you right there. I want to go to Anne. I'm glad to end on that note. Anne from Norway, what's on your mind?
It's so easy to criticize the United States, and I have often been just negative in my criticism. But I think that all of us have found out during those 3 months what it is that makes the United States unique and fascinating. That nowhere else do people hope enough, to be idealistic enough, to turn their ideologies into realities. Elsewhere, the intelligentsia analyzes the idealistic plan. Analyzes, excuse me, and chokes it. I think that is one of the things. And we like in Europe to say that you are materialistic. And I think that Americans respect the concrete more than the abstract. But yet here, the most idealistic plans find support. What is it that makes it?
Well, you've all been getting a small chance to find out while you're here. I'm glad you've discovered that double side of America. Now, I wonder if all of you would stand up. I'd love to end on the theme song that you've made your own, the Dona Nobis Pacem. It's strange that Latin should be a common language for this group, but if you will, who can give us the signal to start and sing us just a little bit of the Dona Nobis Pacem? Can you start? Who can give us the signal? All right, start.